Hey, it's Janine, your intercultural creativity, neurosomatic creativity, and prismatic keynote speaker. I am here for your Diamond Mentor moment. The day before July 4th, Independence Day, on Juneteenth, June 19th, I did talk about creativity and freedom and what it really means to live a creatively free life. And so, as we head into Independence Day, I'll be talking about some other things that are connected to creative freedom. So, today, as the title says, I'll be talking about the power of journaling. Have you ever thought about journaling as a part of your leadership toolkit? I was reading my next book about Lincoln. As you see, I'm a fan of Lincoln over there. I have other portraits, a hand painted portrait of Lincoln over there, and then a book about Lincoln over there. And the book that I'm reading right now is by Steve Inskeep. He is the NPR host, and it's called Differ We Must: How Lincoln Succeeded in a Divided America. And I was reading this about 16 relationships and just conversations that he had. And I was reading about a man by the name of Joshua Giddings, right? And just Lincoln's communication with him and how he used a lot of leadership school tools and communication tools in order to influence people and have them see his side, and him being able to see other people's perspective and things like that. And then in this book it says, Giddings wrote in his journal on January 8th, Mr. Lincoln called on me this evening, read his bill, and asked my opinion, which I freely gave. And so I was just reading that, and it was like, oh wow, this author Steve had access to his journal, Joshua Giddings' journal, who he was born in the 1800s, and his journal is still here for us, for you, for me to do research on, to see how people lived in that time, to see what they were thinking, to see their perspective. And so I just really wanted to talk about journaling today as we get ready for this holiday. You get some time off. What does it look like to record your life? And so I wanted to share with you some of my journals. I was a part of the Be Me Fellowship, and they gave us this wonderful, beautifully bound journal. And you can actually order new parts inside. And so I have a lot of these journals. I've been journaling since I was 18 years old. And so these are the journals that I have had inside of this particular one. I joined this fellowship in 2019. So as you can see, I am very much a colorful person. And so I feel that a lot of people don't journal because they feel that, oh, I have to do it every day, or just one more thing for me to do. And I don't really see the importance of writing down my thoughts or writing down what I felt is important or what happened to me. And so I just want to really give you another perspective about journaling. Sorry, I'm kind of going through all my journals like, oh yeah, I did write about that. Here's a picture of the sunrise, and something that says experience it matters. And this is my journal. This is my journal from January 1st to June 30th. So I actually took me 6 months to fill this. And I have a thing for rainbows. So I actually document every time I see a rainbow in the sky. I feel like it's just a message of love and hope, and promises to me. And I went to Alaska, and they gave me beautiful Alaskan earrings. So I put that in there. And here's what I want to offer to you as a part of why is journaling should be a part of your leadership strategy. Reflection is key. John Locke said, innovation happens with sensation and reflection, meaning number one, are you even paying attention to what you're sensing? Are you using all your senses to the fullest of their capabilities? Are you smelling the smells of life? Are you touching the things and seeing the things and hearing what's going on around you on multiple levels? But then he says reflection, so sensation and reflection, and that's where journaling comes in. The reason why journaling is so important to me is because it allows me to shift perspective. It if I am journaling, like let's say my wedding, being at a wedding, being in the wedding, being the center of attention of the wedding, it goes by so quickly that when I look back at the video, I'm like, oh, that person was there. Oh, that happened. Like we miss so much when you're in the experience to stop and try to get in your mind's eye, your imagination, what happened, who was there, what was the emotional climate during this part, during that part. And if you ever had a conversation where you thought, I wish I would have said this, or I wish I would have said that. Because in the moment, especially if it's an emotionally charged moment, depending on what emotion's going on, your prefrontal cortex may be not as active and you may be in your emotions, your amygdala may be going off and controlling a lot where you aren't able to really think clearly, and when you are out of the situation, that's when a lot of creative ideas come in. And that's when you're reviewing the conversation and you're like, oh, I should have said that. Or, oh, wait, he made that point. I should have made this point, because you're able to think about it in a clearer way. And to me, that's what really journaling is. I'm able to really revisit what happened and shift perspective around the experience. And I also get to record connections. So I'm very sensitive to patterns. People who have a background in the arts are, if you play a musical instrument, if you dance, a lot of that is structured in patterns, right? Pattern making and pattern breaking. And I love to journal because I can detect patterns a lot more. Maybe every time I talk to this person on the phone, I'm feeling depressed or I'm feeling nauseated. If that's a pattern, so what does this mean about how the person's making me feel on a regular basis? Maybe I need to not talk to that person so much, or maybe I need to re-examine the relationship, right? The body is a communicator. The body is a method of thought and speaks to you, right? And that's what biofeedback is, and understanding what your body is telling you as well. And so I journal. I journal my emotional states. I journal other people's emotional states or how I perceive it. I also journal patterns that I find happening a lot. Like I was traveling around the country speaking, and I realized every hotel room I was in, I had some view of water, like a fountain or the lake or the ocean. I was like, that's really interesting that literally every hotel room I'm in, or it rained, right? Or it's always raining. And so I just love journaling to document my lived experience and to really highlight patterns. Another aspect of journaling is that ability to communicate with yourself. I had a poster of Abraham Lincoln up in my classroom, and it said, reading and writing books is so important because it gives you the ability to communicate with the dead and to communicate with those who are yet born. That's powerful, and that's why I love my book. And if I ever meet you, I'm always telling you, write a book, even if it's just your lived experience. Write a book because it's your way of leaving your creative ideas with those who aren't even born yet. Think about that. And journaling to me is the same way. This is a physical object that may deteriorate one day, but it might be a while. I, till this day, and I meant to go grab some, but I didn't have time. I still have my father's journal. It's with me, and I have boxes because when he passed away, we went to his apartment and cleaned out some things, and I knew that those would be important to me. So I grabbed probably 25 of his journals, and it's like sitting with him. These are his words. And when you really think about what makes a person, if you have someone there laying sadly in a coma or a vegetative state, the way that they know that they're coming out of the coma is their ability to communicate. If you can hear me wiggle your toes, if you can hear me lift your finger, they start to do something to communicate. And to me, that's what life is about. It's your ability to communicate. And this is a way to communicate first to yourself. I have this journal is from 2019, and I think Shutterfly allows you to put like pictures around them, like you will change the world. This is your breakout year. So I would write little notes to myself, and this one's from 2018, when my little one was born. He's 6 now. and that's him. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's really cool to go back and almost have a conversation with yourself. I have a journal from when I was 17 years old, and Janine at 17 is different than Janine at 45, right? And just the amount of wisdom and experience and people, right? What relationships do to your thinking, to your ability to look at yourself. And so journaling is really important. And I just Googled really quick some benefits of journaling. So those are my personal reasons. You get to be innovative, you get to detect patterns, you get to record your ideas and maybe one day leave them on. As far as legacy, like I still have my father's journals, even though he has passed. And I get to almost hear his voice. And I even turned to the page of April 4th when my husband and I got married, and I saw what he wrote about my husband. And it's good. And he said, I think Shane is going to be good for Janine. It's really cool to kind of almost sneak into their thinking patterns. And to see what they thought about life. And he had a friend who would come in and check on him. And I read his journal, what he thought about her and just how she was so much of a support, and I just wrote her a letter to say, thank you so much for being there for my father, being a good friend for my father, because I can actually read his journal and read what he thought about you. And he thought the world of you. And he was very honored to have that friendship. And so it's just a wonderful place, a wonderful way to connect to someone's personality through their journals, especially if they've gone on and passed. So Google says that journaling is the best way to lower stress and anxiety. It's a wonderful way to just think creatively. Some people free write in the morning, where you just write whatever comes out, more of a flow. It's a great way to improve your memory. And I want to, me, I always bring on neuroscientists. I love the brain. I always travel with one. It's in here, but I travel with one as well out here. And really, it helps you to remember. There's things that I read back in this one, and I love this one because it says, shine bright like a diamond. There's things that I read that I'm like, you know what? I forgot that happened. Oh, right. And he did say that, or we did go there, or that did happen. And it just reminds me, especially me, I'm always looking for clues of life and clues of living. It just reminds me what happened and why that was important enough for me to actually write down and to record. And so I want to talk about that, because when we think about creative thinking, and when we think about innovation and our ability to connect with people from different lived backgrounds, we have to understand that your brain and how memory works, right? There's a lot of new research coming out with how memory works in the brain. It's not really encoded, but it's like pieced together. And then you think about it another time and it's re-pieced together. It's really fascinating. But the hippocampus is a part of that process. And this is why sleep is so important, because during sleep, your brain does all the memory work, right, of remembering what happened during that day and pushing off what wasn't important and logging what is. And when you journal, number one, the physical aspect of writing, I read somewhere, does something in your brain where it actually helps your brain remember it more and remember it in a special way when you physically write things down. And I'm a fan of Dr. Wendy Suzuki. She's over at NYU, and she's the dean there, I believe. And she's a neuroscientist looking at the hippocampus, right? And BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic growth factor, and why it's important to exercise. But she's also looking at the hippocampus as far as memory. So let's see what she has to say with why memory is important. And I believe journaling helps you with memory, but how it affects your creative thinking. Here's Dr. Wendy.
The hippocampus and what it does really defines our own personal histories. It means it defines who we are. Because if we can't remember what we've done, the information we've learned, and the events of our lives, it changes us. That's what really defines us. That's why I wanted to study the hippocampus. And I think the exciting new ideas about the hippocampus is that it's hippocampus is important for memory. So if you say that, you'll impress all your people at your cocktail party. But what people have started to realize, that it's not just memory. It's not just putting together associations for what, where, and when of events that happened in our past, but it's putting together information that is in our long-term memory banks in interesting new ways. I'm talking about imagination. So without the hippocampus, yes, you can't remember things, but actually you're not able to imagine events or situations that you've never experienced before. So what that says is the hippocampus is important for memory is a too simple a way to think about it. What the hippocampus is important for is what we've already talked about, associating things together writ large. Anytime you need to associate something together, either for your past, your present, or your future, you are using your hippocampus. And it takes on this much more important role in our cognitive lives when we think about it like that. That is kind of the new hippocampus that neuroscientists are studying recently.
She is amazing. She's amazing. So really looking at that. So one way to improve your memory is to write it down, right? I heard someone say a short pencil is better than a long memory. So just write it down. If it's important to you, if that relationship is important to you, write it down because you'll be able to recall it. And it does help with your creative thinking. One last point that I wanted to point out was I love the book called Tomorrow Mind by, it's by Dr. Martin Seligman and Gabriela Rosa Kellerman, and they talk about resilient mindset. So I'm not going to go over 5 elements of resilient mindset, but if you look over here, there's one called self-efficacy, right? And self-efficacy is your ability to have confidence in what you can do. You know, I can do this. And it's your ability to have confidence in your ability to develop the strategies and the strength and the tendency to complete the tasks that's necessary to succeed in a various endeavors. And so 3 sources of self-efficacy, which is very important for growth mindset, for you to reach your goals and things like that. At the bottom, there is a sense of personal agency, right? Mastery experiences, social modeling, and sense of personal agency, that you can make choices and you have agency to build your future, and mastery experiences that you have done things that have been successful, right? So over here, I talk about self-talk and how it shapes our relationships with ourselves. What your journal is, it's self-talk. It's you talking to the paper, to yourself, really. And research shows it has a positive influence on salary, job satisfaction, and career success. And so if you're talking positive to yourself, or even if you're talking about a negative thing that happened, but really looking at the lesson within that experience, and you're looking at the light at the end of the tunnel and the point of hope, right? You get to really monitor that, and you can monitor the way that your self-talk is through your journal. And so be kindly curious with anxiety. So if you're anxious about something, you can be curious about it. And so these are all things that can be done in a journal, right? One tool about self-efficacy is self-distance. So you can write about yourself in third person. That's me like saying, you know, okay, Janine, this is a big speaking engagement. You're in front of 5,000 people. You can do this, Janine. You've done this before. Whether you're speaking in front of 20 kindergartners or 5,000 people, the goal hasn't changed. The goal is to make impact and to change lives and to inspire them to be better than when they came in, right? And so I can do this, and I do this in my journal. My self-talk is not just in my mind, but it's in my journal because I can go back and read. And then I can read that I was successful. They were changed. They came up to me and shared all of the great things that they learned, and motivate and reflect instead of demean. So if things don't go well, am I going to demean myself in my journal? I really don't practice that. But I say, you know what, this didn't go well. Yeah, here's what I learned. Here's probably why it didn't go well. Maybe I should change this behavior and try this next time. And so journaling is a leadership tool. Think about that. Journaling is a leadership tool. And one way I know that is because I study leaders. I read a lot of biographies and follow a lot of stories, and 95% of the leaders have some type of written process. They write down their thinking, they write down their experiences. And if you even look at the work of Ken Burns, who I love, Ken Burns, he is a documentarian. He did the movie of the Civil War, the Dust Bowl, jazz, right? He has to collect all this information from a time period where he was not alive, right? He was not alive during the 1800s. How did he get his information? A lot of it was from people's journals. He brought in the music, he brought in the photos, he brought in the newspapers. Yes, he did the research in a lot of the other areas, right? But a lot of it was the primary source of a journal where people poured their heart, their fears, their highs and their lows in. We got to know about Lincoln's life through their journals of people who knew him and his own journal. And so that's why I'm documenting my life, right? In my life, I hope I do a few cool things here and there. I've written a few books. I've taught a few hundred children and about a few thousand adults. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully I'm halfway through my life. I'm 45. Hopefully I'll make it to 90. My grandmother and grandfather made it very close to 90. So my brain and heart will stay strong, prayerfully. But when it's over, and it will be over, no one's going to live till 250 years old unless technology does something amazing within the next 50 years, which it might. But when it's over, who will remember that you were here? Just a small group of people from your immediate family, or more people because you left your thoughts, you left your work, you left your ideas, you left your ups and downs, and you left your journey, you left your adventure here. And what a great way, what a great blessing to pass on to any children or any society or whoever you wish to pass it on. So anyway, that is your Diamond Mentor moment for today. Thank you for those who joined me. Feel free to leave a message in the chat. Do you journal? If you don't, what are the things that might be stopping you? Yeah, it's kind of iffy to put your deepest, darkest secret somewhere, but when you're gone, you know. So it is what it is. And just know that someone wants to learn from you. When you leave this earth, you will have a wealth of knowledge, and what a shame it will be for it to all go into the grave and not to be able here to help somebody live their best life, right? So I hope my lessons, which I share my lessons pretty globally, so I'm a teacher, that's what I do. But hopefully your lessons will be shared with whoever you choose to share them with, and people will be able to shine bright like a diamond with Prismatic Leadership. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please stand by and watch my LinkedIn. We'll be launching our first intercultural creativity course online, and to learn more about the gems, and then we'll be doing a full certification program later on in the year, and definitely for next year for those of you who wish to be certified in this groundbreaking way of thinking, creating, and connecting. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.